Hello and welcome back to my shop. I know it's been a long time since I made a video. Frankly, I've just been making a bunch of stuff, but my video channel is basically for helping other woodworkers. When I have a good idea that I think will help other woodworkers, that's when I make a video. And today I'd like to talk about miter saw sleds, which is why I'm at the table saw. I have an Incra miter sled, which, as you can see, is pretty conveniently stored close to the table saw at the point of use. And having a miter sled for your miter saw makes it much easier to make mitered cuts, especially on small pieces, more accurately and safely. And if you add zero clearance to it, which is easy to do, minimal tear out. The problem is that you're always using your table saw during a project for multiple different things. If you have to go to putting the miter sled on there, you got to move your fence, which may already be set up for accurate cuts on something else, and taking it on and off just kind of disrupts flow. And so I came up with something a while back that I tend to reach for all the time. And this is what I want to show you today. This is something I designed years ago, and I use it. I find myself reaching for it all the time. I call it my miter saw miter sled, and it allows me to make the same sort of cuts with the same accuracy and safety on my miter saw that I would have been doing on my table saw sled here. So after my last project, when I used the heck out of it, this thing needs to be replaced, and they're so easy to make. I upgraded to what I call version 2.0 of my miter saw miter sled. This thing's got several upgrades, including Wood River flip stops here that are adjustable. And I also made the fence higher at the point of cut here because I found myself I was cutting a lot of tall trim work just to give myself a little bit more zero clearance. I use this almost exclusively now for making the sort of cuts that I previously had made on my table saw miter sled, to the point where I can't even remember the last time I used this. So next we'll go over to the miter saw, and I'm going to show you how this works, and I'm going to show you the advantages it has over the miter sled. And if you're contemplating either buying something like this or making your own miter saw sled for your table saw, which maybe you want to do both. They are nice, but this I think will help you out in your workshop, and it's made my workflow out here so much easier than using the miter saw sled. And now I'm going to show you the main advantage to using this over a miter saw sled on your table saw is look how easy that is to install. There, I'm done. It just stows away in a drawer. On the bottom here, I've got pieces of wood mounted to either side so it registers against the side of the saw, so that gives you repeatability so that your blade is going to follow these previously trenched out lines on both the base and the back, which is tremendously helpful for lining up your stock using these zero clearance relief lines here. And I went to Home Depot and Lowe's and looked at all the saws that are for sale now, and they all have trench mode. You got to have trench mode, because if you got to put your saw in trench mode, which won't allow it to go all the way down. Because if you go all the way down and you make a cut, you're going to cut right through your miter saw sled here, and then you got to make a new one, which is no big deal. It's pretty easy. But anyways, I've had that other one for quite a while now, and I've never cut completely through it. I always remember to put it in trench mode. All the saws at Home Depot and Lowe's that I saw have straight sides. This miter saw sled should work with all the designs I saw at Home Depot and Lowe's. The second big advantage to this design is, unlike the miter saw sled on your table saw, you can switch back and forth. You can do 45 one way, the other way, and I've been making a lot of trim work recently, so I've been having to switch from left 45, right 45, and 90 degrees. And you can do it quickly and easily. This saw is very accurate, so it keeps its accuracy and rides the same lines each time. But let's say your saw does go out a little bit, you can actually use these lines to help to tune your saw. If it's not fitting in there, you could probably use this as a gauge to tune your saw back up. The addition of these Wood River stops is going to be outstanding. I think I'm going to absolutely love those. I designed this to be a little bit higher on the back of the fence here at the point of the cut, because I've been cutting a lot of trim work that's pretty high, and It allows for minimal tear out because of the zero clearance here. And the zero clearance, I thought it would hinder dust collection, but it really doesn't. And as a matter of fact, I think it actually helps dust collection. Because I've designed it this way with the high part of the fence right here, my stops won't go all the way to the blade here for 90-degree cuts, but that's easy to solve. Let's say I just wanted to make a 1-inch cut here. You can use a stop block to position your work with repeatability. I usually take the block out when I make the cut because I don't want the cutoff side and it to be pinched between the blade and the block here. But I'll be honest with you, when I've left it in place, the cutoff piece, it doesn't jump. The zero clearance prevents it from jumping. Even when I'm doing something like this small piece, it usually just kind of falls to the side and doesn't jump. Basically, it gives you the same feel as cutting with a miter sled on your table saw. You feel safe. The piece is well supported on both the bottom and the back. And it allows you to make small cuts and feel really safe about it. And these relief lines here in the base and the cutout zero clearance in the back really help with lining up your work too, and I'll demonstrate that for you. So you basically just draw your line on your piece, and then you want to carry it over to the side here. So that gives you multiple ways of lining it up. So I can just line it up right here, and it's so accurate I can decide whether I want to leave the line or cut the line off. Or since I carried the line over here, I can use the cutout on the base here in the same manner and line it up there. Right there, and I'm ready to make the cut. And this is a cut that I would feel safe doing with this, with all the support it gives and my experience with this. Anything smaller than that, it's easy to use a push stick to hold it in place. One thing about these Wood River stops, though, I will say, I had to mount this block to the bottom because they don't go all the way down to the base here. These are the best ones I could find. They have minimal slop to them. They hold really well, and they're small and they're compact. But if you can find something different that goes all the way down to the bottom, then you can save yourself that step of having to mount the block here. But at the end of the day, boom. Up and out of the way easily, and I think that is the main reason, well, I like my miter saw, but the other reason that I've switched over to primarily using this for these small mitered cuts and 90-degree cuts is that it's super easy to install and remove. So now that I've shown you how this works, and hopefully you agree it can be helpful in your workshop, I'm going to show you how to build it. I'm assuming if you watch my channel that you've got some degree of woodworking skills, so I'm not going to do baby steps. It's real quick and easy to do, and keep in mind, if you want something simpler, you can just design something as simple as this, because this served me well for quite a long time. All right, so first we're going to make the base, and I'm using 3/4 inch or 3/8 inch Baltic birch. It's 6 inches wide. Baltic birch is really stable, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut it off so it overhangs each side of the base of your miter saw by about 3/4 inch, because we're going to be gluing a strip of wood down here so that it registers against here. Next step is we're going to glue on the strips here to keep it registered against the sides of the base of your miter saw. So I'll spray a little CA accelerator on there. Position it so it hangs over equal amounts on either side. Secure it in place with this. Make sure it's up against the back of your fence and the back part of your wood is nice and straight. And this is gonna we're going to make sure that it slides on and off. and that there's no play. Perfect. All right, now we're going to build a fence, and I've selected a piece of walnut here. It's very flat, maybe 2 to 2.5 inches wide. It's up to you. I didn't have any good plywood, so I'm using this walnut. But anyways, you can just stop at this point and skip ahead to the last part where you mount this to the board and be done. But I'm going to make mine fancy by installing this Wood River track, so I can have. I've installed a dado stack that is exactly as wide as this Wood River track. Adjusted it to the height of the track, and now I'm going to cut a dado in the side. All right, that looks good. The tracks aren't going to go all the way to the middle because I need a zero clearance fence for that to cut, and I don't want it cutting through the aluminum every time. So I'm going to go back to the dado, mark where these stop. And I'm going to go back to the dado with my miter sled, and I'm going to dado this out. All right, so I'm done with my cross-cut miter dado there, and I've cut a piece of wood that's going to fit in there from the cutoff on this just perfectly. So all I have to do is glue that down, screw these in place, and then we mount it to the piece of plywood we already cut for the base, and we're about done. All right, so I've marked the center of my block here in the middle, line the center line up with the cut line of my blade, the center of my blade, using my lasers, and then I'm just going to mark where that goes on our baseboard, and then we're going to go glue it down, and we're done. All right, so I've glued it on. Fits nice and flush. There's no rocking. You want to make sure you didn't get any sort of warpage when you glued this on here. Make sure it's flush to the back. And if you got a nice straight board, it'll be flush up here with your fence then. And now we need to make sure that we're at proper trench mode. You want to make sure, I want it to actually cut a little line in here, but not go much deeper than just a hair, because that's going to give you another line to register your work on your cut line. So let's go ahead and make our initial cuts. And we're going to do one at 45. Now it's ready to use. So thanks for watching. Please post any comments in the comment section. If you build one, like it, please let me know. I want to hear from you guys, and I'll try and do more videos. I do have some other good ideas that I think will help other woodworkers. Thanks for watching.